How's it going, everyone? It's Vivi and welcome back to some Sly Cooper. Oh boy. Something recently has been going on. A lot of media buzz has been going on lately. By this I mean, you can find multiple articles online mentioning Sanzaru wants more Sly. We haven't seen this much media activity since the reveal of the Sly Cooper movie back in 2014. Guys, this is an absolute great feeling. It gives you this sense of relief, like, oh, okay. Sly Cooper is still attention worthy. People want more Sly Cooper, and that is certain. We just have to make it apparent to Sony. That's the downside to this whole recent social media activity. This is something we've always known, well, at least when it comes to the community. Therefore, I call this quote-unquote status update. Sanzaru has always told us to contact Sony, or in other words, the head of Worldwide Studios, well, former President Shuhei Yoshida. He has stepped down, if you haven't heard. Fun fact, since I brought him up, he did like a tweet when someone brought up Sly Cooper being continued by Sanzaru over on Twitter. This is probably for you newcomers who stumbled upon this video, but don't get your hopes too high. But Yoshida, thinking about it, he was president of Worldwide Studios. Why would a president like a tweet where someone mentions Sly Cooper? It's something we don't always see. But guys, I do see one very good thing out of all this, despite the same information we've heard before. This type of information, aka Ask Sony for more Sly Cooper, is now out there to the mass public. Back when Matt Kramer explained this in 2015 during an E3 interview, he did say, hey, contact Sony. I don't recall any media buzz surrounding that video.
I guess, final question. I know you guys did Sly Cooper. A lot of us were big Sly Cooper fans. I want to ask, could we see a future Sly Cooper from Sanzaru? Is that a possibility?
You know, I love that franchise. I feel that we left it with a cliffhanger. I want to clean it up. I would rather have the story of Sly and the gang finished properly, and we'll figure out where he is and what's going on. But that's really up to Sony and Mr. Shu Yoshida. So, you know what? If you guys want it, hit up Sony, tell them Sanzaru needs to make more Sly Cooper, and you never know. It might happen.
I guess back in 2015, the release of Sly 4 was still considered too recent. I mean, 2 years had passed since the release of Sly 4. So naturally, people would think, okay, let's give it a bit more time. Let's not make articles and stuff like that. Plus, the movie got revealed. So yeah, let's just focus on that kind of mindset. But now, almost 7 years later, people are starting to realize that Sly Cooper hasn't had a game for so long, and all these news articles prove it. And Kinda Funny Games knows it. They know that Sly Cooper is wanted. They know that people want new games. In an almost hour-long video interviewing Matt Kramer, lead designer at Sanzaru Games, well, they titled their video Sly Cooper Status Check. And this status check happens at 53 minutes and 30 seconds of the video. Talk about grabbing attention, am I right? They know that Sly Cooper is, as I just said, wanted by a lot of people. Why else would they put Sly Cooper status in their title? They know that people are going to freak out over another Sly game. So Vivi, anything out of this interview video you deem interesting? Why yes. Matt Kramer, lead designer at Sanzaru, explains that the Egypt episode, you know, that cliffhanger we all love dearly, well, the story for that chapter is already written fully on paper. We don't have much info on when exactly this last chapter was written. Like, was it written after the game launched or while the game was in development? I'd say a good portion of it, at least when it comes to gameplay, was written during development. So, since I'm mentioning Matt Kramer, here's the exact quote from him. Roll the clip.
Why have y'all forsaken Sly to ancient Egypt? When can he return home to Carmelita and finally be happy?
Man.
Of course, that's the cliffhanger ending to your game.
That is. You know,
Speaking of cliffhangers, I gotta pay for it, you know what I mean? Come on.
We love Sly. You know, I'll tell you a tidbit of information. So, the original first episode of Sly Cooper Thieves in Time was supposed to be Egypt.
Okay.
with Sly Tutankhamun.
Yeah.
And then Egypt was going to be a DLC episode.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was always the intention, and then
Yeah.
we never got to finish that out.
Sure.
I do have the in the team at Sanzaru, like we have the story, we have the whole episode done, on paper form.
Of course.
But we would love to come back to that world. I hate leaving them there. It's the question we get the most.
Sure.
So all I can say is, if you guys want more Sly Cooper, let Sony know.
Herman Hulse, hit him up.
Yeah, but we're ready. We're always ready to dig into that.
Awesome.
And it was a great franchise to work on, and we really miss it.
I hope you get back to it one
So,
day. I liked what you guys did a lot with it.
Cool, thank you.
No
It
problem.
was a great project.
Originally, the first episode, Sly Tutankhamun, was going to be the first chapter. Who would have thought? But then it seems they moved on to the idea of DLC instead. Okay, so they have that DLC written fully on paper already. Like we probably got Sly talking to his ancestor, the one who created the Thievius Raccoonus. Like, wow, I'm scratching my head over here thinking, what did they write down for that Egyptian episode? Like, the story's out there. It's written by the team already. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that possibility. Like, it's out there. If they moved on to the idea of DLC, that means the idea of that episode was already written. So we can't entirely speculate that this DLC was written after the main game. It's not like we can say, oh, Sly 4 got released, they got feedback on that game and decided to change a few things with this last unseen episode via DLC. By the way, this whole DLC story was revealed a long time ago during an episode of Gamerland podcast. I don't know if you've ever heard about this one. It features the voice of Sly Cooper, Kevin Miller, there's Justin Worsham on there, and one of these episodes had Matt Kramer. In that one, I don't remember which one, there's a lot, he did mention DLC something. I don't remember which one it is, but the important thing right now is I'm happy this information resurfaced to the mass public. Why oh why did this DLC not see the light of day? Logically, I guess the sales of Sly Cooper 4 are to blame. It was the 7th best seller back in February 2013, the month of launch, both physical and digital sales. It was the 2nd best seller on Vita, to give you an idea. Whatever sales position it was at the later months, I guess Sony deemed it as poor seller, and thought investing into DLC wasn't worthwhile. And the type of DLC we're looking at, by the way, is story completion. We got an incomplete game story-wise released at launch, and that's what sucks about it. This isn't extra content type of DLC, this is literally a story that was left out, and was thought of originally. I guess Sony back then thought, hey, let's just leave it on a cliffhanger. That's a proper way to end the launch version of the game, right? Some games have happy endings, or endings that convince us that the main game feels complete. A game which we believe is what the developers envisioned at launch. As for Sly Cooper, we were just left completely unsatisfied. And it's not Sanzaru's fault. They don't call the shots here, it's Sony and it always will be. DLCs typically release after the sales come up for said game. Look, I'm not too sure on that information, it varies. I don't have a precise answer. I believe whatever happened, the sales convinced Sony that a DLC is not worth it. What else would explain the cancellation of this DLC? Explain that to me. I'm trying to comprehend this whole thing. So Egypt was originally meant as episode number 1. Then they thought, oh boy, we don't have enough time, nor enough size on the Vita to release all content at launch. That's the one you've probably heard the most, that the PS size limits prevented Sanzaru to release the full game on PS3. So, with that in mind, they thought of DLC afterwards, an episode which I guess would get developed after the launch of the main game. Logically, if not enough time, let's say, then they'd spend that extra time they need on that chapter after the game launches. It's not like Sony had the option to release it at launch if the episode wasn't complete yet. Whatever amount of content that last episode had, Sony thought it wasn't worth investing. As I said, probably due to sales. So with the current hype surrounding the fate of Sly Cooper, people are starting to come up with hashtags. Hashtag Sly5 for PS5. Hashtag, my personal favorite, Free Sly from Egypt. This one, Kevin Miller came up with it. I love it so much. I've used it a lot. you've probably noticed. Another one, hashtag Sly4 Director's Cut. I like the sound of that one. Director's Cut would just be used as a fancy title to get an idea across. It would just basically be Thieves in Time, again, but with our Cut Egypt episode included, so that there's closure to the cliffhanger ending. Kevin Miller even finds the name cool. Fun fact. What I'd love for Sony to do? Release another remastered collection, either for a PlayStation 4 or PS5. Probably PS5 at this point if they're considering newly added chapter to the game. A fancy name would be cool for the collection, but probably not necessary. But the most important thing is, fix some issues. While you're at it, releasing another collection, fix all visual glitches, and even sound glitches. Fix load times for Sly 4. Add the DLC story to Sly 4. And cherry on top, Sly 5 teaser thrown into that collection, just like how they originally did with the Sly PS3 collection for Sly Cooper 4. If Sony has enough interest for another remastered collection with DLC, or probably don't even call it DLC, just feature that extra episode in the game, like release it fully. If they're interested in that enough, then they would be open to the idea to continue the series. Heck, if they're considering a TV show which we're yet to see updates on, surely they have enough interest for Sly at this point. Plus, nostalgia is a huge selling factor nowadays. Spyro, Crash, Medieval, need I say more? So with that being said, folks, this is it for the video. As usual, do your stuff, anything, leave anything, really, in the comment section below. Do you like the idea of a remastered collection with Sly 4 fully complete this time? Tell me what you think, alright? So with that being said, guys, I'm VV, and you know what? If you want to get the word out there, maybe you'd like to share this video. Use hashtags Sly5 for PS5, Free Sly from Egypt, Sly4 Director's Cut, whatnot. Let's just get the information out there. Plus, with the addition of a lot of articles popping up left and right, more might even pop up as I'm making this video. Let's make it happen. So with that being said, thank you for watching, thank you for the support, and until next time.